What is up, everyone? I want to just go ahead and announce something real quick. I just learned how to jump cut. It still technically qualifies as just like one shot because unlike TikTok, I can't get rid of the cut prior to. So if I mess up that one cut, I'm not editing anything. I just have to do the whole video again. So I'm gonna go ahead and get started. I'm still trying to get the hang of the jump cut thing, so you're just gonna have to bear with me here. First off, let's just get right into it. I want to talk about the fact that I do not like I don't like how there's a narrative for morally gray villains in today's works of fictions. I get it. You know what I'm saying? I totally get it because villains can be complicated. Villains they don't but I just don't believe that they should always be complicated. Sometimes a jerk is just a jerk, Like it really doesn't make any sense that like we this conversation came from the fact that is like we're starting like one thing that people really don't want to like actually bring into context or take into account. Fiction has a habit of bleeding into real life because ultimately fiction is just social commentary with some extravagances or just a fantastic take on it. A lot of things that are fictional are usually referencing something realistic. If not, I mean, even no matter how bizarre it may be, like literally every story is ultimately a reference in some fashion to something else. I mean, Jack and the Beanstalk, if you really think about it, is kind of a reference to like poor people and rich people, the economic inequality. You got this rich person who's successful, lives up in the clouds somewhere. Whereas you got the poor people who kind of don't, and they live on the ground. Or you could heck, wasn't Little Red Riding Hood ultimately about like a girl's quest into womanhood or something? I don't know, but the fact is that we have a habit of fiction has a habit of bleeding into reality as much as reality has a habit of bleeding into fiction. It's not there's not a huge divide there. It's just it's a divide there. It's just not that big. Like before the Lensa app craze came out on social media, where you had all these cool little scientific pictures. You had people every single time AI got mentioned or brought up, folks would be like, oh no, Skynet is about to come over and take all of our brain cells and harvest us like human meat. And now you got people like, oh well, like Lensa is cool. AI can actually do good, which is something that I've been trying to tell people for years. But apparently they're like, you want our mechanical overlords to take over our bodies. You're turning us over to the robots, which is annoying. But yeah, though, so it's like the reason why, but the reason why I don't like villains and the reason why I don't like complicated villains or gray villains or anything like that is because, if you make every villain complicated, if you make every villain gray or moral, it's always like people will sort of take the idea that every villain is like there's no such thing as complete evil because every villain is just a radical who is doing their thing, just doing something that they want in a very different way. And I don't like that idea. I don't like that concept because it's just because sometimes a jerk is just a jerk. Sometimes evil is just evil, and the fact that people kind of don't want to, and it's like and if the more you ignore evil, the bigger it gets, because it's like cancer. You know what I'm saying? You never just have a little cancer. It's either you don't have cancer or you do have cancer. It's kind of like how society can't just have a little evil. You either there either is evil or there isn't evil. And the problem is that like in this day and age, we're because of the narrative of a little evil is just like no evil, it kind of opens the evil up to just say, hey, well, if nobody's going to pay attention to us, we can do whatever we want. And that's bad. I can't stress enough specifically how bad that is. I'm still getting used to this jump cut thing. I don't know what I'm doing. Do I just press the pause? At some point I'm going to have to get some editing software so I can do more with this. But in the meantime, I'm just gonna enjoy the little bit that I can do with what I got at the moment. But seriously though, the reason why I don't like morally gray villains and I don't like the idea of, complicated villains is because, like, you take away the idea of obvious evil and make that complicated, then suddenly you get rid of the idea of obvious evil. So now all of a sudden there is no complete evil. There is no actual evil anymore. It's just, oh, that person is just, like every act of evil is excusable because, well, I mean, that person did good too, right? Yeah, we're talking about it. We're talking about it. I don't want to talk about it. I really don't want to talk about it. But we're talking about Kanye. Uh, exactly my point. Kanye is the best example of this right now. You got like this whole, like, my thing about Kanye, like in Hitler, for those who don't know what's going on, Kanye likes Hitler. Kanye thinks that Hitler is an okay guy. Yeah, that Hitler. So the fact is that the reason why I specify that Hitler is because Hitler is not just one person. It's a last name, so anybody can be named Hitler. But it's sad how Hitler has now, like, sort of just like, if your last name is Hitler just because it was your family name, your life is just sort of ruined, you know. So I feel bad. So I want to specify that Hitler. It's really sad, really. It's just like, man, if your last name is Hitler, your life is just miserable. It's just sad, really. But the fact is that, like, Kanye liking Hitler is basically what I mean by the idea of the idea of people pushing this narrative that there is no such thing as absolute evil, because there is no such thing as bad guys, because, like, all it is just people are perceiving this person in such a terrible way, when it's like, no, it's not. That's not the case here. Listen, like, I'm gonna say specifically, like, I am 100% okay with somebody who thinks that who gave me a sandwich. If a person gave me a sandwich, that'd be awesome. If a serial killer gave me a sandwich, I will look at that sandwich a little bit differently. But if it's a normal sandwich and I eat that sandwich, I'm not gonna be like, wow, this serial killer is not such a bad guy. He gave me a sandwich once. I'm gonna be like, this serial killer gave me a sandwich. I wonder if did I eat a person? It's just the sheer fact that, like, now we're starting to blur the lines between good and evil, and the lines were already blurry to begin with, but we're further blurring it. And in the case of Kanye is just one jerk. You know what I mean? Like, my whole concept is that Kanye is just one dumb person. And the problem is that, like, when you give one person enough influence over a whole bunch of other people, America has this thing about weaponized stupidity that I mean, like, stupidity is easily America's most powerful thing, because if one stupid person believes something, then a million stupid people who follow that stupid person believe something, and all of a sudden it's a whole thing that manages to once again get in the way of things that actually should be being done for the better. Like, we have, like, in this nation alone, white supremacy is a problem, domestic terrorism is a problem, rampant homelessness is a problem. We're in the middle of economic collapse because we're literally in between two pandemics, COVID-19 and Mpox, because we can't call it the other thing anymore, which I'm honestly okay with. I'm cool with that. I mean, like, because the first thing I'm going to say is, oh, like, I mean, when you say the word monkeypox to me, is less racism and more, which monkey did this? So there's that. So, but yeah, it's just really complicated to me because, like, now we kind of have, now we have a whole bunch of stupid people looking at Kanye West, and some of them are now trying to agree with him, or rather trying to just sort of, like, spin themselves into an aura. I forget the word, but it's the snake that's eating itself. They're slowly trying to, like, kiss their own buttholes while twisting and tying their body into knots to justify what he's saying. Or even better, just saying he's not really saying that. He's saying this instead. It's like, no, he's actually saying the thing. He's saying the thing. So now it's become less like that. And once again, I blame the narrative of fiction pushing the idea that there is no such thing as evil. There's no evil anymore. It's all complicated. It's not all complicated. It's not. Sometimes a jerk is just a jerk. I talk too much in this one. Love and peace, y'all. Be easy.